Welcome to U.S. News Source Channel. In a short time, an explosion occurred at 4 military airports of Russia. Explosions that took place one after another set Moscow in motion. Russia's weakness in air defense revealed. Flames went up after the explosions and many Russian planes were damaged. First of all, explosions took place at Russian military airfields in the Saratov and Saratov regions of Russia. However, the fact that the regions are quite far from the Ukrainian border reduced the possibility that this attack was carried out by the Ukrainian armed forces. Despite this, Russia claimed that this attack was carried out by Ukraine in a planned manner. There was no response from Kiev. In fact, according to Moscow's claims, after the Ukrainian army's move in these regions, it headed to the Kursk region of Russia, which is close to the border, and carried out an unmanned aerial vehicle attack. According to the statements, explosions were reported at the Russian military airport in this region as well. In fact, explosion sounds echoed in the Bryansk region of Russia, which is also close to the border. Explosions in this region also came from a factory. According to the allegations, flames rose from the area as a result of an attack with drones against an area in the region. It was stated that the distance of this region to the border is 80 kilometers. It is seen that the risks especially in these border regions are high for both countries. However, the most critical issue revealed by these explosions is Russia's insufficient defense power. Moscow's lack of defense drew attention. Russia, which has suffered serious losses on the territory of Ukraine for months, and military losses in its own territory will drag the war to a completely different dimension. Moreover, after these explosions were reported from the Russian military airport in the territory of Crimea. According to the statements, unmanned aerial vehicles attacked the Russian military airfield in the Belbek region of Crimea. It was reported that air defense systems were activated immediately after. It was stated that the move, which was carried out in the region on the western sides of Crimea, took place at night. This situation increased the tension in Moscow even more. Moreover, the inadequacy of Russia in the field of defense, which damaged its military points in a very short time in 4 different regions, was proven. The biggest reason for these inadequacies is that Moscow has distributed its military resources to Ukraine and Syria. Having deployed its military equipment in both countries, Russia's own country was left defenseless. Moreover, the fact that Russia is stationed on Syrian territory causes its involvement in the events between Turkey and Syria. This may lead to the deterioration of important relations with Turkey. It is known that Moscow has deployed many air defense systems on Syrian territory before. This situation could end badly for Moscow. Because Russia, which has deployed many of its military equipment on the fronts for the war it started in Ukraine, is gradually decreasing the amount of military equipment that can be deployed in its own country. Moreover, as long as Russia continues to maintain its presence in Syria, it will also distort its relations with Turkey. The existence of economic and diplomatic relations between the two countries also shows that putting these relations at risk could result in bad results for Moscow. At the same time, Russia's defenselessness on its own territory may mobilize Ukraine. This will increase the intensity of the war even more. Moreover, Russia, whose defense power is decreasing, will have to face greater losses as a result of the damage to many of its military points day by day. It is already known that many casualties were lost on the territory of Ukraine. On top of that, if he loses his own territory, it will be even more difficult to compensate for these losses. As a result, it may even have to withdraw its military resources from Syria and Ukraine due to strategic mistakes. This situation may cause Russia to regret starting the war and to face major defeats. All kinds of moves should be chosen carefully and strategically in order to prevent these from happening. It is seen that the Ukrainian armed forces are gradually increasing their operations and are advancing thanks to their success at critical points. Ukrainian troops, who took back many regions with successful operations on both the southern and eastern fronts, continue their struggle for more. In these days when the war has entered a very critical period, relations with countries and all kinds of moves made on the fronts have become much more important. In particular, the importance of military support from countries in the course of the war is seen day by day. This is evidenced by the successful use of various weapons and systems from the countries by the Ukrainian army. It is known that one of the countries that has provided the biggest support so far is the United States of America. At the same time, many European countries also provided various supports. All kinds of military and financial support provided to the country also affects the course of the war. This time, news of aid came from Poland. Poland reportedly handed over additional air defense systems for Ukraine. It is known that Poland has previously handed over the S-125 anti-aircraft missile system to Ukraine. It has been reported that this system, which is of Soviet origin and can hit short distances, has been sent to Ukraine. It was also stated that Ukraine has anti-aircraft guided missiles for this system. It is known that this missile system is mostly used to prevent missile attacks. Increasing such defense systems against Russia, which turns to missile attacks every time it starts to struggle, will have a significant impact on the course of the war. Moreover, it is known that whenever Russia has difficulties in ground operations, it tends to missile attacks and increases these attacks. Presence of Russian military ships in all three seas may also lead to an increase in attacks on Ukrainian territory. Moreover, thanks to the experience of the Ukrainian Air Force and the various air defense systems that came to the country, many Russian missiles are destroyed. In the past days, more than 60 missiles were shot down by the Ukrainian Air Force in the large-scale missile attacks carried out by Russia. In fact, it was announced that these missiles, which were shot down, cost Moscow approximately $400 to $500 million. As it turns out, instead of gaining success with these missile attacks, Russia only suffers serious losses and has to face even greater defeats. This causes Ukraine to be in a more advantageous position in the course of the war. If Russia continues such aimless and backlash attacks, it will not be able to achieve any significant success on Ukrainian soil. On the contrary, as these attacks target infrastructures, greater defeats and losses will be even more inevitable for Moscow. In the long run, this may force them to withdraw from the war. If Ukraine continues to hit critical points with even more successful moves, it will achieve much greater success and military gains. As a much smaller and less resourced country, the biggest contributions to the struggle of the Ukrainian army, which successfully advanced this war, come from the countries. At the same time, the Ukrainian army held a military exercise on the Belarusian border in order not to give the Russian troops the opportunity to attack from any front. Ukrainian armed forces acted on the order of the commander-in-chief of the Kiev Defense Headquarters. Upon this request, it was reported that joint headquarters training was carried out with the 120th Regional Defense Brigade, depending on the military unit, on the defense line near the Belarusian border. With this exercise, it was announced that the level of cooperation between the lower and upper headquarters was improved. At the same time, it was stated that the forces of the 120th Land Defense Brigade participated in this training. With such exercises, it is shown that the Ukrainian army will be ready against moves that may come from all directions. It is also known that Russia has recently carried out military activities with Belarus. It is also known that various military equipment transfers took place between the armies of the two leaders and that they helped each other. There was even a wall built on the Belarusian border. On top of these, possible moves in the face of the increasing measures of Ukraine began to be wondered. In time, any move will be of great importance in the course of the war. Strategic determination of these moves is also essential. Otherwise, in these days when the violence of the war has increased considerably, the fault of one side will become the advantage of the other side. We have entered the most critical periods of the war. This will cause every step taken to determine the fate of the war. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.